Thank you so much for checking out today's video. This video is really special to me for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we are in my home office. This is a space that truly I have been manifesting for years, which I will definitely touch on in the video. And I had the incredible opportunity to work on this space with one of my very dear friends, Bethany Holmes. She helped me really bring life into this space through her work in interior design, specifically spiritual interior design, which I will touch on in just a second. But before we get into the video, I want to introduce you to Bethany. She is a certified holistic health coach, a Reiki practitioner, and a spiritual interior designer, which is so freaking cool. Bethany is so passionate about sharing her experiences to empower individuals to shift their mindset, reclaim their power, and to live a life free of fear and full of love, which I am all about. Bethany believes in the power of energy and the effect that it has on our overall well-being. And through her work, she works with individuals to elevate their energy both internally and externally in order to holistically enhance their lives. Now, I've known Bethany for a few years now, and she is someone that I am always and constantly inspired by. She just has this beautiful, warm energy that you feel so good being in, and you feel so nourished after having connected with her. Bethany just has this innate intuitive knack for interior design. She makes it look so easy and so effortless. And so when she began her interior design business, Spiritual Design by B, earlier this year, I was like, hell yeah. Because it was such a beautiful thing, and it still is a beautiful thing to watch her fully step into this deep calling of her soul's purpose. Now, you might be wondering, what is spiritual interior design? So let's get into that really quickly so that you have a deeper understanding of everything that we talk about in this video. Spiritual interior design is this philosophy of creating spaces that are energetically elevated and aligned with your true self, to generate an environment for prosperity, to flourish in all areas of your life. Now, Bethany has created her own method using principles of Feng Shui, energy clearing tools, natural elements, visual appeal, sustainability, spatial energy, and intention to design spaces that promote the most calm, peaceful environments, thus leading to optimal health and wellness. I am so grateful for her guidance, her love, her expertise in this video. And as you can see by the length of this video, it is full of incredible information, you guys. Bethany shares so much with us. So I would highly, highly recommend that you watch the entire thing. Even if you have it on in the background and you're listening as you're doing something else, really give yourself this opportunity to soak in all of this information that Bethany shares, because it is so, so valuable. It's something that I learned a lot from her as she's, stepped into this business and shared this work is, the environment that we're in, right? The spaces that we live in, that we live our lives in, are just as impactful on our health as eating a well-balanced diet, as working out, as taking care of our mental health. The space or the environment that we surround ourselves with is so, so important, which you will definitely hear in this video. And I've included timestamps for you below in case there are any points that you want to come back to or that you really resonate with, that you want to watch or listen to over again. You'll find all the timestamps below. And what's really awesome is that Bethany shares 10 tips to really bring in energy, balance, harmony, peace, all of these beautiful things into your space. All of this information can be applied to any space in your house. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment below letting Bethany and I know which part of this video resonated most with you or was most helpful for you. We would love to hear your feedback. You can connect with Bethany via the links that I've shared below. And so without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, I am just so grateful to, one, have this time with you, but two, to like have you virtually in my space. We are in my home office right now, which is where I am enlisting your help. And this has been quite a journey. You have seen a lot of kind of the before stages of this room. So just so you know, coming into kind of the energy of this space, when we were house hunting and kind of just starting that whole process, one of my requirements was I need a home office, right? I need a separate space that is just dedicated to me, to my work, to all of that. You know, I had that in our old home, and then Joey came along. So Joey moved in to my home office. And so I had moved then my desk and my computer and all of that into our guest room. And that was fine for the time being, but not ideal. So when we found this house, there was this little library that they had made into like a den or like an entertainment room kind of thing. And I thought, okay, this is perfect. Beforehand, we have these beautiful built-ins behind me, which it's so funny like to have these, because whenever I would envision like being in a space that was my own, I always imagined like white built-ins behind me. So it's so magical to like have that now. One of the things that we did right away before we moved in was painting, taking wallpaper down. So I feel the general aesthetic of the room is a lot more pleasing, but I still feel like there are definitely elements where you come in to kind of really make this my own. Now, before we started this video, you and I were kind of chatting about what my vision is for this room and kind of what I want the vibe to be. And so for me personally, it's funny that we're both dressed in black today, because you and I share a very deep love for neutral spaces. You have been to my old house, you know that like every room was the same color. I just really gravitate towards neutral, clean, light spaces, which I feel like I'm getting that in here. I have a nice window behind me. So that's always my goal, like my baseline is neutral, clean, and just light. You know that I am someone who works from home 100% of my time. So my vision coming into this space is, one, I want to feel inspired, right? I want to feel just joyful coming in here, knowing that it's my space to be, it's my space to create, it's my space to, you know, show up and conduct my business, run my business, all of that. So yeah, inspired, joyful, and peaceful. Hopefully that's kind of like a good baseline to start with. Yeah, we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know too, you sent over some photos, and the carpet is blue.
The carpet is blue.
Which this happens often in spaces. People move into houses, apartments, whatever, and you can't always change every element to like perfection or what you want. So it's really about working with what you have and then like amplifying and making the space even better, you know, but really either muting it down if it's horrendous or really building it up and like really appreciating it and looking at it. So blue, when we think about blue, we think of like water element. And when we think about the water element, that's tied to like our intuition, wisdom, social connections. So looking at that is just like, you know, every day you're in this, basically sitting on this throne of intuition, wisdom, and social connections when you walk into the room. So just being able to connect maybe some things that you don't connect with in the room as a positive way, you know, so then you can appreciate it and really like fully appreciate the space.
I love that. I appreciate that perspective of knowing that, like, as someone who is a recovering perfectionist and has to have everything perfect, knowing that like even if there's things that maybe we don't love about a space, or that maybe kind of like turn us off when we initially walk in, we can have a different viewpoint of, okay, how can I work with this for right now? So I love that you brought that idea in of just like the water element, because I'm someone who gravitates towards water. That speaks to me a lot. So that's something that I definitely want to continue to connect with in this space, and like use that energy to my advantage. Absolutely.
Very few people can move into a space and redo everything to what they want. Like, that is unrealistic for the majority of people. And I don't want, you know, people to look at spiritual design as like, oh, I have to redo everything by the best of the best and all these things. Like, of course, if you have unlimited money and unlimited space, who couldn't make a like space beautiful, right? Absolutely. So this is really about like working with what you have.
Yes.
You know, even like movement of furniture can make a huge, you know, shift, and then just adding in elements that are attainable and affordable in order to shift the energy, and creating spaces within your space that really bring you joy. So you don't have to stress about having everything brand new and perfect and this and that. It's not about that. It's actually the opposite. It's just like, how can we work with what we have in order to create like the most harmonious space for us to exist in, and, you know, create and relax and all the things that we like to do. So I'm happy that we have that element, because that's a really like real life example of what the majority of people are living in, you know? Great. And I see behind you, you've done like some decor on your book.
Yes, behind me you do see some books that are stacked up, and I've actually grouped my books by topic, and then I've arranged them by color as best as I can, which that just felt good to me. But you'll also see that I have a couple shelves up here that have nothing on them yet. So again, this was kind of like thrown together like, oh shoot, I have calls I need to be on. I need to like make this look a little bit presentable, but it also, my one thing I really want to make sure that I'm being mindful of is I don't like clutter. And I don't like a lot of like busyness. So something that's really awesome about these bookshelves is down below, I do have some cupboards down here. So I do have things that are like tucked away. I have books on one side down here, and then I have like other things that relate to my business, like my cameras, you know, equipment type stuff that I can fit in there. I would love to know if there is a way that I can be arranging things in a certain way that speaks either to the energy of the room, or, you know, anything else in terms of like feng shui or aesthetic that would help.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the bookshelves are beautiful, and really there's so many options and ways that you can decorate them. And it's actually an art, because they can get cluttered, right? Yes. Oh, I'll put a trinket here. I'll put something there. Oh, this is okay. Your mind is like, what is happening?
Yes.
So it's always, for me, like less is more, and definitely decluttering. So yeah, there's definitely that. And if you look at it and it brings you peace, okay, if you look at it and you're like, then that means that we need to make shifts, because every time you walk in the room, you're subconsciously to that bookshelf, and it's having a reaction on your energy. And then if it feels chaotic, or you have your shelves, even the ones that are covered, like the more storage that you just have like shoved in there, it still is carrying like this manic, chaotic energy, right? So even if it's stored in a closet or this or that, having it organized within that is really important. So, and I know you just moved, so you probably did this, but if, you know, you're in a space for a long time and you're trying to rearrange stuff, making sure that everything you have in that space brings you so much abundant joy that you need it. Otherwise, why do you have it?
Yeah.
So like everything that you have on those shelves every day, like they have to bring you joy, because they're in your space and you're looking at them. Stuff that you want to hold on to, but you don't necessarily like connect with it at this moment, or need it on a daily basis, or want to look at it. That's stuff that you'll put like in the storage, you know, makes me feel a certain way. I love that book series. It really inspired me. I want that on display. This photo of my, you know, family and whichever, like that's what you want on display.
Do you
you recommend like having like
I do.
plants? Okay.
I do, just because they're alive, right? So they have like more energy and more to give. And obviously with plants too, like they're great for our health, right?
Yes.
With oxygen and cleansing the air.
Yes.
So unless there's something artificial you really connect with, I always recommend having, real live plants.
Do you have any particular plants that you like love or gravitate toward or think that are just great to have in a smaller space, because this room isn't huge?
Right. I do recommend not having succulents. I think people get confused on that. Succulents actually suck oxygen.
No way. I didn't know this.
So like they shouldn't really be an indoor plant.
Oh, because they're more like dry, like hot weather, yeah?
Yeah, and they're not really like a positive. So that I would recommend not. Like an aloe plant or a snake plant, something with like rigid arms, that can sometimes cut energy depending on where it's placed. So something that's like a little more, especially in your space and what you're trying to embody, I would say just like something a little like softer. So you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a really beautiful, elegant, soft plant. So, like if you look at a plant, it has a personality.
Sure. Yeah, right? For sure.
Some are strong and sturdy, some are more delicate. And if you're going into the space, it's like, okay, you might want to bring both of those elements, right? Your business is strong, you're sturdy, but also like there is this ease and there is this flow.
Yes.
So I would just honestly say what you connect to. I know that might be a little different than traditional, but besides like anything that has like really big, like deep branches, like a aloe plant or like a snake plant that can like cut energy fields, and then succulents that suck oxygen. Other than that, I think it's like fair game. I personally recommend and I love a money tree in an office. It's I have one, I'll show you. This is what they look like.
Oh, ooh.
So and I would actually maybe recommend putting it on your desk or in a certain corner of your space.
Okay.
To bring in kind of that like wealth and abundance. So we can kind of talk about that more, like your wealth corner and all of that. So
now I love that. And that brings me into my next question, which is the layout of my room.
So similar to a bedroom, the desk and the bed are like kind of one and the same as far as, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but having it in like commanding position.
Yes.
So basically that means that your desk needs to be like diagonal to a doorway.
Oh.
So you don't want to be like straight onto a doorway.
Okay.
Because it's like open energy and you're receiving everything that's coming in and like the vessel that's getting it all.
Yes.
And you don't want to have anything kind of going on behind you that you can't see. So ideally, and like, again, it has to be what you connect with and what makes you feel the best in your space.
Yes.
But if you were to put your, and I don't know the dimensions of your desk or how, but if you were to put your...
Pretty big.
Okay, well, that's great. That's actually really good for Feng Shui to have a like big, sturdy desk.
Awesome.
That's huge. So, so let's say I'm facing this way and then my doorway is like diagonal over here. That would probably be the ideal way, but how you do it, if you look out your left or your right, is that where the door is?
Yes. So if I look straight on, I just see the wall. But then if I look to my right here, that's where the doorway is. So I'm not like facing the door like head on. I'm facing a blank wall head on. But then the door is technically kind of diagonally to the right.
There are multiple ways to do stuff. There's not just one way. So one option would be what I just said of like walking in the desk being to the right, like, so you're facing the wall, or how you have it is perfectly fine. You never want to have your back towards a doorway though. So like, let's say you moved your desk because you wanted to look out the window. That would be no.
Got it.
You don't want that happening.
Got it.
And if there's ever a situation in which like space is a problem and the way you have to position it, you can't see the doorway, you can do like a full length mirror. So then you can see the doorway through the mirror type of situation. It's all about like energy and protection and like feeling safe in the space.
Yeah. talk about mirrors, because I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah.
Of mirrors in spaces in general, or kind of like how we're talking about with the doorway, the way in which you're positioning.
So I would never put a mirror straight on.
Okay.
So if you're sitting in your desk typing, like you don't want to be able to see your whole self. But yeah, it's perfectly fine to have mirrors in an office. For bedrooms, mirrors are like a no-no. There's really no, and there's a lot of different ideas about it, especially if you start to get more spiritual, like it can be a little witchy.
Yeah.
Right. So in a bedroom, it's like a no. If you do have a mirror in a bedroom, it needs to be in a place in which if you're laying in bed, you can't see it. You can't see it. It can't see you kind of situation. You can't see your reflection. But as far as an office, just having a mirror that you can't directly like see yourself in is completely fine. And then I would just recommend, like, when you sage your space, like making sure that you go through that mirror and do that too.
Something I would like to maybe build out a little bit more is having kind of like a mindfulness or like a spiritual corner. So what elements could be included there where it's also in its own little?
Having a dedicated space. Yeah, I think having a dedicated space is very important. You know, you don't want to be meditating at your desk.
No.
And you don't want to be doing your work on your laptop and on your meditation pillow.
Right. 100%.
Right. So just having that separation of space, even though it's within the same room, is completely fine. I think it's kind of all within one anyway. Like, I think of it, it's like, okay, this is my space where I connect to myself. I connect to my third eye. I get creative. It's all kind of encompassing.
100%.
If you wanted to do something where it's like, okay, I need this kind of break, you could do like a bookshelf, right? So then like,
cute.
You could be on the other side of the bookshelf. So there's like a little separation. You can create separation within the space, but I don't think, given the two things that you're doing, that's necessarily like needed. That would be more of like if someone had to put their desk in their bedroom.
Yes.
Right. So like you really need to divide, because that's very opposite kind of energy is going on. But as far as like a meditation corner and then like your workspace, because of the work that you're in,
right?
If you're like a day trader, I'd be like, no, this is not going to work out. Like, you need separate space. But because your work is meditation, mindfulness, spirituality, I think it's all connected. So I think just picking that space within the room and doing whatever you would like with it, meditation pillow, candles, oils, whatever you bring into that, crystals, completely fine. And then there is something on your desk called like your wealth corner, which I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. And that's basically like where you're going to kind of like manifest that energy of like wealth and abundance. So you can do a few things. It's the top, I think it's the left corner. Top left corner of your desk. For me, that's where I keep my sage and my crystals. Specifically, though, you could do like a money tree. Yes. Do citron or amethyst, which are really great because they bring in like that wealth and that intention of it. Yeah. So having like your dedicated upper left corner. And then in Feng Shui, it's kind of similar to IIN, you know, like the circle of life. Yes. So Feng Shui has its own like idea of that. It's called like a Bagua, but it's like this 8-sphere diaphragm. And it has different categories. So like wealth, finances, joy, like similar to the wheel of circle of life and IIN. So I'm going to send you that and you can kind of play around with it, but its ideas are that like where you position certain things in your room has to do with where certain areas in your life are kind of like stacking up or need attention. That's so interesting. Cool to like put on your desk because it'll be in your position. And then like, let's say the left side of your room is getting piled up all the time. Like you're always throwing your yoga mat there. You're throwing the dog toys there, you're throwing whatever, like that's just the place where everything goes. You can look at this map and be like, oh, well, that's this center, and that's why, you know, maybe I need to work on some stuff here. I need to
And is that true of every room? Like I could take that to different rooms in my house, because I have a room that has lots of piles right now from moving.
Yeah. You can do it by room, and you can do it by like full on home, right? So like if you were to envision it like on top of the home, in what area is the clutter accumulating, and what is that?
Oh, I can't wait to do that. That's going to be eye-opening.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. You know, having different elements, you want to like balance the space. So I know we talked about like the water element, you have like the wood desk. So you should add in, you know, a plant in this corner, or maybe you need like a metal figurine over here, you know, something like that, just to feel the balance of the room. But at the same time, you don't want to just clutter your space with things to get balance. It's more so of like in the back of my mind, oh, what do I have already that I can put there? Or have in the back of your mind, and you're out and about, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've been wanting something like this, right? Because we don't just want to buy stuff to fill a space.
Amen.
Right, unless it's like you're literally moving into a home and like you have nothing.
Yes.
But we never want to look at like material objects as like a need. It's more so like just filling the space to find the balance with what we have.
Oh, I love that. Something that came up to me that I want to make sure that I ask you is cleansing the space. So how often, like, should I be cleansing? I mean, of course, this room, at home in general as well, but especially this space, since this is what we're talking about. And then, so how often and what do you recommend that I use?
You have a baby at home.
I have a sweet little baby, yes.
So I would recommend only using sage when he's not around.
Okay.
Just because I don't know how intense it could be.
Sure.
And especially dogs too. I mean, poor Charlie is like, what are you doing every time I sage? But anytime you sage, as you know, making sure the windows are open and it's a well ventilated area. Obviously, you know not to do it like when Joey's in the room or whatever.
Correct.
But the reason I bring that up is because you can cleanse the energy without sage. So you can do other practices. You can do like clapping of the hands. You can play like sound bowls, like, you know, like musically that can. So it's really about intention, right? So you're going to cleanse the space. Today I'm going to use sage. You know, tomorrow Joey's working in the office with me, so I'm going to put on sound bowls instead and have an intention and speak it out into the space, like bless the space, please clear out any negative energies and welcome in all prosperity, wellness, you know, whatever that you want to bring in. So it's really more so of a ceremony with yourself and your space than like the sage is a representation of that, and you know, so many different cultures for ceremonies, but it's not the only way to clear it. So there's definitely options, but I would recommend, like, I do it daily. So I wake up and that's like my morning ritual. It's like I bless the space and I get it ready for the day. But you know, sometimes I don't because life happens and whatever. So it can also just be, you know what, I haven't cleansed this in a while. It's feeling a little stagnant. Or you get off a call, you're really heated about something, you're upset, you're like, you know what, I need to release this energy. So that would be a time to cleanse it. Someone comes over, maybe you have like workers in your house because you just or whatever. They could be really nice people, but their energy doesn't need to stay around. So you can cleanse that out. So anytime there's like a disruption in the energy, I think it's good to cleanse it out. And then just like on a daily basis, if you feel the need, because it's just a fresh start, like that's how I mentally feel about it.
I love that. And I love that you also mentioned that you don't have to necessarily have like tools or resources to cleanse a space, that it's just about setting that intention of wanting to clear the space. And I wanted to bring that up, 2 reasons. One, selfishly, because I want to be able to do that in this space, but I also think it's so important with people working from home. And there's very little. I mean, I feel so grateful every single day that I have a dedicated room in my home to work from, right? I feel like I will never get over the feeling that I felt when I first walked in this house, walked in this room and said, oh my God, this is it. It doesn't look how I want it to look right now, but oh my God, this is it, you know, and of course now seeing it as it is. But secondly, you know, if there are people who maybe don't have this luxury, right? It's a luxury that I'm able to have this space, that don't have this luxury of having their own dedicated private space to work from, and they have to work from their bedroom or their guest room or wherever it may be.
Right.
I think it's so important to take that time, even if it's 30 seconds, to release the energy of that day, to cleanse the energy of that space that you're in, so that, you know, when you are coming back in the next day, it's brand new, it's clean, it's fresh, and you feel really good being there.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's with, you know, and you know, everything. It's like, it's always the intention behind it.
Yes.
So people could sage every morning, but if they're doing that while checking their email or thinking about the next 10 things, it's like, it's doing nothing. It's creating smoke, and that's about it.
Right.
So it's really the intention behind the practice. So whether you are using, you know, a smudge stick, or you're using sound, or you're using like just simply clapping your hands and saying a prayer, or there's also like, you know, like misters that you can do, oils, you know, you can bless the space that way. You know, there's so many ways that you can do it. There's not this like, you're doing it wrong.
Sure.
It just has to be the intention that's there.
100%. And it has to feel appropriate for you. Like if you're not into sage or things like that, then don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like, find what works for you and what feels best and most natural for you. I love that. I love that so much.
So after our initial session, I sent Bethany some photos of the space that I'll include here. She could get a more generalized feel of the energy as a whole in the space, and also offer some advice on specific areas that I could improve upon, which I do want to include here. So first and foremost, the cords, the cords. So as you can see from that photo, before we had a solution in place, I had cords everywhere. And so I have a freestanding desk in the middle of this room. And so it was really, really obvious when you walked into the room that there was just this chaos, right? And it's funny, Bethany even said in her note to me that cords equal chaos. Cords equal chaos, which I definitely felt anytime I'd walk in this room and just see kind of this string or this mass of cords hanging off of my desk. So Bethany shared that, you know, not only are all of these cords a safety issue, you know, having a baby and things like that, that's an issue that we can either absorb internally or absorb in our environment, or identify with, which I thought was so interesting. And so Bethany actually sent me a few really great follow-up questions, including, where was I feeling chaotic? Right? This makes sense. Where was I feeling chaotic in my life? Where was I feeling unsafe? And you guys, once these cords were taken care of, the energy in this room shifted. So Bethany recommended that I put a surge protector underneath my desk somewhere that was hidden away, where I could easily have everything tucked underneath my desk and managed very neatly under there. And so as you will see in this clip that I'll show you here, my husband actually pulled up the carpet, ran an extension cord underneath, and we kind of fished it up the side of my desk and plugged a surge protector in underneath my desk, and plugged all of my appliances, my lamp, my computer, my desktop, everything underneath my desk so you can't see anything. And like I said, the energy in here just shifted. It was wild. It felt more clear. It felt lighter. I didn't feel as heavy walking in here just by taking care of those cords. Wild. The second thing I wanted to share with you, per Bethany's recommendation, was artwork. So the walls in my office are still blank, and that's with intention. I am not someone who wants to buy stuff just to buy, which Bethany and I definitely talked about. But I do want to share what she had said to me about the way in which you can hang artwork on your walls. So for me personally, being in a home office, and again, having my desk in the middle of my room, she had shared that on either side of me, so the two walls that kind of surround the left and right sides of me, I should be hanging things like my degrees from college or graduate school, any certifications that I have, You'll see on the wall next to me here, I do have an article that I was featured in our local newspaper hanging up here. And so anything that relates to kind of your success or the success of your business, really allowing to kind of surround you and act as structure for you on either side of the desk. And then I do have a blank wall in front of me that Bethany recommended hanging anything that is inspirational or aspirational because it's in my line of sight sitting at my desk. It's something that I am constantly looking at, constantly seeing. And so being able to have things that I want to aspire to or that I want to call in or manifest, having them directly on my wall helps me to continuously bring that into my subconscious and call that forward. Now, once I do have stuff hanging on there, I will be sure to share on my Instagram so that you're able to see an update from that piece of advice. And something else I wanted to share here too, the article that I now have hanging on my wall, I did have behind me here placed along the shelf on my bookshelf. And what Bethany said about having it there was that it was blocking the shelf. And so energy could get stuck behind the actual artwork itself and become blocked back there. So anything you're putting on shelves, energy should be able to move freely around versus having anything that's going to block that energy, which I thought was very, very interesting as well. So again, I hope that you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I cannot wait to hear what part of this video was most helpful or impactful for you. See you guys again soon. Bye for now.